45 and 46 from the SAT number 9. This is the April 2017 QAS test. So 45 says, it can reasonably be inferred from the passage that Martone's research interest in lignin should be considered something. So we know that this is 45 and 46, so we should probably start with the lines for 46. And basically we're going to be looking through the lines for something about Martone's research interest in lignin. So let's start. So 7 through 9 says, lignin production for those tasks was considered a key adaptive achievement of vascular plants, which descend from green algae. And this is pretty much just only talking about lignin and basically like, sort of the adaptive advantage that these plants get from it. It's just about lignin overall. It doesn't really say anything about Martone and his research interests, so I feel confident getting rid of that. Then we have 13 to 16, which says, the finding suggests that a biological building block fundamental to the success of land plants has roots that stretch back far deeper through evolutionary time than was known. This is just talking about sort of the significance of the finding of lignin in this algae. But again, not really anything, I think, that is said about Martone's research in it. So for now, I think we could probably eliminate it, or at least just put it on the back burner. It doesn't say anything directly about Martone. Then we have 23 through 26, which says the biomechanist simply wanted to better understand the toughness of C. cheilosporioides, which dwells in the harsh habitat of intertidal zones along rocky shores. So here we are talking about Martone. It starts by saying he actually didn't set out to locate lignin in algae. Instead, all he wanted to do was understand the toughness of it. So I think this is good. I think it does talk about his research interest in lignin, or at least his research interest in this seaweed, which happens to have lignin. So I think it's possible to keep this one. Then 59 through 61, which says, the puzzling thing is that it's also present in calcified portions of the algae. We don't know what it's doing there. So this is Martone sort of making a case about parts of lignin, about lignin basically being present in some of the calcified parts, and basically he's saying we don't know what it's doing there. So this could kind of work. It is about his research, but I think it's a little more just him admitting what he doesn't know or what's still speculation. So I don't think it's likely to be really the correct answer, although we can maybe keep it. But to be honest, 23 to 26 definitely to me seems like the strongest. It's telling us very clearly about sort of his research interest in lignin or in the seaweed overall. And basically what it's telling us is that he wasn't initially trying to he wasn't trying to detect lignin, right? So let's see if we can find an answer choice that will match that. So A says that his research was unusually insightful because it has fundamentally changed the way lignin is understood. I think this is kind of correct in the sense that it is a pretty significant change, right, in understanding lignin and understanding, sort of how it's present. However, none of the text from 46 could support this claim, even if the rest of the passage could. The other thing is unusually insightful is pretty strong, so we need strong evidence for that. Same with fundamentally change the way it's understood. But really, for me, it's the main reason it just doesn't match any of the text that we talked about. It could support this, so I think we can get rid of A. B says somewhat questionable because he based his conclusions on an atypical sample, which I don't think is true at all. There's really no evidence that it was atypical. He just took it directly from his sample directly from the ocean, directly from what he was looking at. It doesn't say anything about it being atypical, which just sort of undermine his science, and overall the passage is supportive of it. So I would get rid of B. C says properly cautious because he checked his findings multiple times. Maybe this is true, but none of the texts we looked at read that. I don't think anywhere in the passage is it characterizing him as being cautious and checking his data multiple times. I feel comfortable getting rid of that. D says initially secondary because it was undertaken to support particular questions about the seaweed. Initially secondary, I think that's right because he says he didn't set out to locate lignin in algae. He wanted to do something else. So it was a secondary thing that he did. So I think D is correct for 45, and C is correct for question 46.